Okay, we're going to sketch this calla lily in a mason jar. The first thing we're going to start with is the opening of the mason jar lid, and I'm going to shove that to the bottom right hand side so we have enough room for the actual flower. I'm going to thicken up the lip of that jar and just repeat that same ellipse shape once I get it correct. And then I want to draw that stem, and the stem is quite stocky for a flower and it juts out a little wider to the top. And then once I've got that shape correct, I'm going to start with the neck of the flower, and it does start kind of thin and then flares out slightly. You'll see you want to get these angles as close as you can. And then we're going to start with the actual top of the flower blossom, and we want to draw the closest part towards us and give the illusion that that's closer, and then we have it dipping down to the left so it has some nice shape. And look at the negative space between the flower and that little lacy part on the left to make sure you get that correct. Now this little edge right there is really important because we want to make it look like that's closer to us, and then we have this division towards the back side of the flower. And these are just kind of organic lines that we're drawing. You've got some little bumps and grooves, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it definitely needs to match that angle that dips down to the left, just like you did at the front of the flower. And you really don't have a lot of detail with this flower. And then you've got this little stem part, and then you can, or I'm sorry, where your pollen is, and then just make sure you're happy with your lines. A lot of organic lines, fix and trade and erase. I liked the shape of the stem to be more at an angle, so I fixed that, and then you're ready to do your inking detail. You'll notice I sketched quite lightly so that as I inked, I'm not fighting heavy lines that I'll have to erase later. I'm using two different tips. One is a 4mm. It might be a 0.45, I think. And then I have a finer tip of a 0.25 that I like to go. So I'm going through with my thicker ink right here, and then I will go in and add a little bit of the finer line detail with that thinner, or with the finer tip, the 0.25mm. So the thing that I like to do, this is the thinner tip right here, is make a little bit of a sketchy, messy edge so that it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes I like that. What I'm doing is outlining where my values would be, and without shading like you would with the pencil, it gives the idea that there's a little bit of curve and shape to this flower, and then I've got some values added. And I'm just trying to make my line work go in the same direction, and then areas that are darker, I will layer that ink a little bit more so you can see that. The last thing to do is make sure your ink has time to dry before you erase it. I always love to use a kneaded eraser, and then you're set.